Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and I'm so excited for today's video. I am back. I'm starting to feel a lot better, so I'm happy to be here with you guys and able to talk about this exciting video. Now, you're probably already wondering, okay, queer icon. What exactly does that mean? And for Kylo Ren of all characters. And I'm going to be just diving deeper into his character and why so many queer people connect with him. But I want to give a little backstory onto how I identify and basically what a gay icon is if you're a little lost. So, how I identify is I'm a non binary sapphic, so I use the pronouns they, them, and I am attracted to women and only women. So, I am, of course, a lot newer in a sense to the community. I've been out for a good total of probably 2.5 years with people around me. I've been myself since probably 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm always learning new things every day, and basically I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, and of course I can learn about new things that are going on within the community, and I'm always open to hearing, because I think that what makes the LGBTQ plus community so welcoming and so just friendly in a sense is that it's always changing and always inviting new people in. And to me that's just amazing. I love that we all bring each other up and we're just a whole bunch of wacky crazy people, and I love that. So in this video, I'll be talking about my experience with the character, how I relate to Kylo Ren, and of course, he's not a queer character, right? And queer characters are so important not to completely ignore actual queer characters in the Star Wars franchise. There are very few, but of course, we do have them. One of my favorites is Dr. Aphra, and of course, Lando, and a couple of others. So, not to take away from any canon queer people in the Star Wars franchise, but I will be talking about Kylo Ren and why so many queer people connect with him as a character and connect with his story. And that's where I'll go into what is a queer icon? What is a gay icon? And basically, a gay icon is a public figure who is regarded as a cultural icon by members of the LGBTQ plus community. Said figures usually have a devoted LGBTQ plus fan base and have acted as allies to the LGBTQ plus community, often through their work, or have been openly appreciative of their gay fan base. Now, when talking about a fictional character, of course, they're not, you can't get much of, okay, they're definitely an ally, they're all of that. You kind of have to look at your own context clues. But I think that's what's fun about having a fictional character kind of as a queer icon, is you can kind of, put yourself into their shoes and connect with them on a lot more deeper level that maybe the writers or the franchise didn't have in mind with them. And that's what's fun. It's all about having fun and all about feeling comfortable and you feeling represented, even though it's not actually representation of that in actual canon. But who cares? Half the time canon is just, a kind of template for what you can work off of in the Star Wars universe or in any universe, any franchise, right? So for me, definitely this is a fictional character. We can't really look into, oh yeah, no, he definitely has a gay pride flag, in his room on the finalizer. We can't go that far. But of course, what I think is fun is that we can put our own spin on the character and we can connect with him in a way that makes us relate with him deeper and makes him a whole different character. So, I'll start off with why people even have queer icons or why we call certain characters a queer icon. And of course, this is kind of my own definition and what I've heard. If I say anything wrong or anything that I could have probably said differently, please comment down below. Be very nice in the comments as well. Everyone is accepted here. Don't do all that stuff. But if I do say something wrong or I do not mention a gender expression or sexuality that Kylo Ren could have, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. I love seeing everyone's like headcanons for him specifically. So why we have queer icons, especially in the Star Wars franchise, is because Star Wars is just such a huge galaxy, and with these stories, it could relate to so many different things. And with Kylo Ren specifically, it's his story, and it's his story for me. That I read it as a non-binary person, I read it as someone as a trans journey almost, someone changing their name, not feeling fully accepted, changing their name and becoming a new person, and it's poetic in a way how he kills right Ben Solo, and it's kind of that movement. So with Kylo Ren's backstory, I guess I should start with that first. We have Ben Solo, and Ben Solo has the Force, but he isn't really into it much. He would rather be like a smuggler, kind of with his father, and he feels the pressure of his family, you know, breathing down his neck to be the best Jedi that he can be. And to be honest, he doesn't really want to do it. He thinks that there's more for him out there, and he's being held back. And then Snoke comes in and he tells Ben Solo that, oh, Darth Vader, this person who basically changed the course of history, is your grandfather. And you have that family member that was hidden from, from him because his family didn't agree with his actions. Not saying his actions were valid, but they didn't even mention him. It's not like they even educated young Ben Solo on why his grandfather was not mentioned, right, in, family gatherings or such. So he finds out, and of course he's mad. He thinks, well, like, I understand what my grandfather went through. I'm going through that right now. And the fact that my family kept that hidden from me even, says that maybe I need to, like, break away from them. And they're not with my aligned views. And basically, Luke tries to kill him. That's still, like, but he's so scared of, like, what Ben Solo wants to become. He's scared of that not knowing. Now, of course, with a lot of many queer people, we feel the same way. Is like, telling people your true feelings and your true thoughts could get you killed, right? And not saying that is everyone's experience, but it's very much like Ben Solo, if he would have just talked about his feelings with Luke and, sat down with him. And I'm thinking about, like, the, Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker, not anything else. But if Ben Solo would have sat down with him and been like, look, like, I'm having these thoughts. I don't feel the weight of, Ben Solo's too much for me. I need to take a break and all of that. I think Luke, to be honest, would have been understanding. And that's also where a lot of queer people fall into that place of, when we finally do come out, everyone's like, oh, that's it? Like, you could have definitely said that, like, way earlier. Like, it's okay. Like, we're here for you and we support you. But it's always that not knowing. And Ben Solo, waits, and then he runs away and he joins the Knights of Ren. And joining the Knights of Ren is also very poetic in a queer sense because it's your found family, right? And you're finding these people that you connect with that is now your family and, accept you for who you are and didn't know the old you. And that's why I love the Knights of Ren with Kylo Ren. I think that it's his found family. The Knights of Ren are his brothers. That's his found family. And so many queer people can relate with that. And then he, joins with Snoke and goes to the Finalizer and becomes truly Kylo Ren. And of course, in this sense, he's going back and forth with his identity, starting to question, like, hey, this is what I exactly want. I'm not a huge fan of, like, the Ben Solo, him redeeming back into Ben Solo, but seeing someone that's been now accepted into your family, aka Rey, been, being trained by your own father to kind of take over the Falcon, what your dream was, yeah, that hurts. And a lot of queer people find that as well, is that in many families, once they leave, a new person will kind of come in and take over your role in the family. Sometimes, right? I'm not saying this is for every family. It's definitely not for my family. But if you're queer and you leave and you don't have those set views, right? Your family could bring somebody else in to take your place and be kind of that placeholder for you. And I think, not, I love Rey, don't, she's not doing it to be mean, which a lot of times it's not, and even the family kind of doesn't even realize that they're doing that, but it's kind of that sense of being replaced. And that leads me into almost Han and Leia as parents, and for many of us queer people. Han and Leia aren't bad parents at all. They're not. But they're scared. They are scared of what their son could become. They are scared that their son is drifting too far from their views. And I mean, come on. Like, it's written in the text, basically. And with this entire backstory, it's such a queer and trans allegory. And so many people miss that. But of course, it's not actual canon. But that's what makes it very special for queer people to come in and connect with his backstory. And before we go into why it's so important to express ourselves through these characters, on my Twitter, I said, this weekend's video, I'll be talking about how Kylo Ren is a queer icon. I'll be talking about my own experience with the character, but if anyone else in the community wants to share, I would love to put it in a video. And I got a few responses. And one of the responses was from AO3 Mother Cat. And she says, if anyone knows about the crushing weight of familiar expectations, it's Ben Solo Kylo Ren. You could even relate his Jedi school experience to Pray Away camp. Just meditate in those feelings you've heard since before you understood language. And I said it was worded perfectly. I've always taken an interest with the Jedi school that Ben was forced into. Great analogy. And that is such a great analogy. I mean, think about it. This kid who's scared of who he wants to become and of his powers gets sent away by his parents, just sent away, and to go to this school to teach him how attachments are not good for the Jedi and that he needs to focus on his skills and what he can do for other people, not what he could do for himself. So thank you so much, Mother Cat, by the way, for responding. That was, you said it perfectly. It was great. And yeah, so basically you have this Jedi school that Ben is in that, many of us who went to Catholic school or went through all of that who were being pushed with those views that did not connect with their own. It's hard. Mentally, it's draining. You're getting drained. And Ben Solo went through the exact same thing. And that's what's funny, is that people can relate that experience with Ben Solo and his experience. And, that's ultimately what I was talking about. For my personal experience with Kylo Ren, and the main thing that I relate to with him is his name change. And it is basically him saying, I'm not Ben Solo. I can't live up to the expectations that is Ben Solo. And I don't want to be Ben Solo. And no one wants me to be who I truly am, which is Kylo Ren. So he changes his name to Kylo Ren. And for a lot of trans people, and especially non-binary people like myself, it's very poetic for us. And to change your name it's something that's important for kind of your trans journey. Not saying you have to change your name. That's so not it. Everyone is different. I'm so happy for you all that don't have to. But for a lot of us, it's a stepping stone to who we want to be in our life. And a lot of times our families do not accept that and do not even want to think about the name change. They think it's too hard. They think it's, not right. And I deeply relate with Kylo Ren in that sense of him changing his name and then leaving, finding his new family in the Knights of Ren. And that's kind of how it's been with me is, you finding people who accept you for who you are and who have only known you since you transitioned. And it's a lot healthier. And I think with Kylo Ren, he, of course, canon, he felt the pull to the dark side, right? But it made him feel a lot better, right? And he wasn't completely bombarded with the expectations that was his familial line. And that's how I relate to Kylo Ren as a queer character. His journey is so much of a queer journey and has queer undertones with it. And people that miss that is, that's fine, right? It's not like it's written out for you, but that's what I like about characters that can be read queer, right? Is that so many of their stories connect with us queer people and connect with us as a person. And we can relate back and forth as to, yeah, that was actually my experience when trying to think of a new name for myself. Yeah, that was my experience finding my new family that didn't know the old me. And now we, go off and have adventures. And I think that's really special that Kylo Ren brings to the table and why so many people relate with him and so many people love this character. And people love his character for different reasons. I'm not saying it's only because of the queer allegory, but for me it was definitely like, whoa, this person's definitely queer, even though it's not written in. And that leads me to my second point. What do we, who is Kylo Ren, right? And I have seen so many renditions of this character that I love it. So my personal headcanon, well, it depends on how I'm feeling, because if I'm just doing like canon Kylo Ren, for my thoughts, is totally bisexual. Oh, he's such a bi king. He is giving bisexuality. And I love that. Like, I kind of wish it was headcanon, or it is a headcanon. I wish it was canon. But he's giving me bi energy. And I love that. And so many people relate to that as well. And I see him a lot of the times headcanon as bisexual. And I just love that so much. My personal favorite as well is non-binary Kylo Ren, which of course. And for me, that's really special because of the name change. And Kylo Ren gives off very much of a trans energy and very much of transitioning. And I've read many beautifully done fics of Kylo Ren being transmasc and, just having a good time and feeling good, right? And that's so many of, as a trans person, that's what we all hope to get, right? And we hope to be comfortable in, our own skin while also, like, just having a cool lightsaber and a cool helmet. And I think that's just super special. I love him just being flat out gay. Like, really, like, I'm there. Like, just get it. But there's so many, like, renditions. I love him being pan. Like, he's just very much like a character that you can mold and shape into different genders and different sexualities. And I think that's when you know you created like a great character. When this character, his story connects with so many different people and so many different experiences that you can be very fluid in your expression of this character. And I think that's really special in the fandom as well, and special to see for his character and, you know, what his character decides to become. And for me, especially seeing in the fandom and in the community, our fandom is very much of queer people. Not everyone. We love our allies. You guys are amazing. You run the fandom. But many fandoms do have queer people in it. And I tend to see a lot of people connecting with Kylo Ren because of his story and because of his character and all of that. And I think that's special. I think that the fact that the community has taken that step is really, really special. And it's not just for Kylo Ren. It's basically for any character that you love or self-identify with. I love the headcanon of Rey being asexual. Of course, I love Finn and Poe being gay. I love Rose being pansexual. I love Phasma being asexual. Hop on the Phasma asexual train. I think it's canon. Yes, I think it was actually confirmed that she is asexual, which is literally giving. I love that for our queen. And but that's the fun thing. Like it doesn't need to be canon, right? Because these stories can relate so much to our sexuality and gender expression. And I think that's really special in this day and age when we don't have as much representation, but we can find representation in these character stories that are presented and canonized as straight. And I think that's something that's really, really special about the Star Wars universe specifically, but also just other fandoms as well. And I think that when people get mad at people saying, oh, this character's gay or this character's bisexual or all of this and that, it fluctuates. And this character can be bisexual for one day and this character can be gay for another, right? It's everyone's own interpretation and everyone's own journey with his character. And I just think that's super special. And to hop off the Kylo Ren train for a bit, just so I'm not talking all about him, but another one that people connect with is Mando, or just the Mandalorian as a culture. It's mainly because of the mask. I connect with Mando, but also the Armorer, because for when they never take off their mask, right? And that's very, like, almost poetic for queer people, is like, honestly, I would love to wear a helmet all day. Like, to hide one's gender and face and something that identifies so strongly with them is, for me, like, a very trans and queer experience. And the fact that they are very ambiguous with their gender and their sexuality and just with their person in general is such a very trans and queer allegory. And I connect with that as well. I don't know much about Thrawn. I will talk about Thrawn for a bit. But I've seen a lot of queer people connect with him on a personal level, and I love seeing that. I do not know much about Thrawn, and I feel really, really bad. I'm super sorry. But I love seeing people in that community. I see a whole bunch of beautiful fan art of them expressing their gender and their sexuality through the character of Thrawn. And I think Thrawn as well, from what I've seen in Rebels, I know the books are better, I know. But he has such of a presence that connects with many of us queer people, right? Or connects with people in general. But I think that him being very tactile and very kind of more with the brains and smarts than like brawn and stuff, I think connects with a lot of us as well. And but that's the thing. You don't need to be gay. You don't need to be queer to be able to connect with these characters. And that's even more special, right? And, even when I'm reading, right? It's like when I read, that about Phasma's asexuality, right? I'm not asexual, but I still connect deeply with her on that level, right? And I think that's what's special about Star Wars characters. And I'll, say it again. They're just, they're special, and you can really create your own narrative for these characters without branching out of true canon. And I think that's what's special, and that's what, fortunately, a lot of people miss. And, I do find it sad with all the discourse of, you know, this character has to be this and this character has to be that, and oh, you can't like that character and all of that. It's like, what? No. Like, let people enjoy their character, let people enjoy their ships. And yeah, so Star Wars is just like soups special. Like, I can literally just think of a character and like there's definitely a queer allegory in there. And I think that's just, it's really special that I'm like even able to do that. And as someone who grew up with almost zero representation, a lot of us, we had to create our own narrative and we had to push our genders and sexualities on characters, of course, when it fit. And I think that was so special. And that almost like rewrote how we think of storytelling as a whole, right? And think of characters and think of, not all of them are just carbon copies of being heterosexual and, all of that. They can be, homosexual. They can have a different gender than they were assigned. It's very like poetic in a sense of like how the world is changing and how we can express ourselves in characters that did not ultimately express that. And I think it's special. I really do. I think that out of everything, you know, it's what's helped me. And it wasn't just a Star Wars fandom. I definitely connected with fandoms outside of Star Wars that I headcanoned people as queer, and I saw myself in them even though they were straight. And our community has a such good way of finding ourselves in places where we're either not wanted or that the narrative wasn't written for us. And we find our place, where we belong. And with Kylo Ren, that's what really connected me with him. It was his story and was his journey from Ben Solo to Kylo Ren and what that character went through. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of come together. It's like we understand that ultimately, and that's his story. And yeah, he's just such a good character. And I love that so many queer people from the community can breathe life through him as a character and write him in so many different ways. It makes the character able to resonate with so many people. And that's what's special. And yeah, it's a hard topic to talk about because I do wish that there were more queer characters in Star Wars. And I do wish that we as a community didn't always have to rely on characters that will never, be queer in the sense, but have a queer story And, I connect with that. I definitely connect more with the people that are canon queer, and I live for that. And I really wish Lucasfilm would go farther with that. I think they need to focus more on inclusion with people of color, and I think that they need to take that first step, and they need to be more inclusive of that in a sense. Then they can tackle on sexuality and gender expression. Because it's been rough, especially with the sequels. I feel like the sequels was really what people connected with the most in the community, in my opinion. And of course, people connect with OT, people connect with prequels. But for me, what I saw a lot of was like the sequel trilogy, and we were able to connect strongly with our sexualities and genders with all of these characters, right? Able to connect with Phasma, who had like maybe a total of 8 minutes of screen time in the two movies, and Hux, who killed billions of people. And we're able to express ourselves through those fictional characters, and it's very funny but very real. And I think people that kind of write off like, oh, why are you making this character gay and all of that, it's like, it's almost the narrative that was written for them, but we're just taking it and making it more nuanced, and in a way making it for ourselves and making the character for ourselves. And not one person owns a character. And I mean, I guess besides George Lucas, right? Because I guess he does own, I guess that's Disney now. But yes, you have the mind that created said character. But when this is in life, little life lesson here with Kat. When you are creating a story with your own OC, original character, or just creating anything, people will take that and create something off of that, and create their own thing off of that. Now, it is bad to do an exact copy and copy someone off of what they did. That's bad. Don't do that. But when you take somebody's idea and make it into your own and take the character in a different way, that's creativity. And that's our world. That you can't have consistent creativity without people taking the same narrative that was written but writing it in a different way that can express the character a lot more. And that's super important with writing and with anything, not just Star Wars. Like with literally every piece of media that you consume, I promise you, like 8 out of 10 times you will think, oh, well, that would be good for like this and that. And, if I could do that, right? A lot of fan art that I see with different poses and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be so cute, but with this character and this character, right? So with creativity, we always have new things coming into our mind, but we take that and we make it something new. And with a lot of queer people in the community, we take these characters and we make them gay. And we express ourselves through these characters, and that's just so beautiful. And it's so much fun to see everyone's self, canons and all of that. And the fact that we can express that through this little emo boy that, has a lightsaber and wears a mask is just so amazing. And I love that for us. And I just love the creativity that we can go forward with that. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be able to say like, oh yeah, no, I definitely think that he's like gay. But then you see, him kiss women and like in canon, and it's like, but you can't, canon's canon. Canon's gonna be canon. But that's why writing is very important as well. And I love writing. That's why I love writing, is because I can express my own self into this character in my form of writing. And for a lot of people, the Star Wars fandom on AO3, AO3 is pretty canon. Like that's our canon consensus, right? Compared to the actual 3 movies that we got. And I just think that's super fun as well. And having that kind of be a part of, you know, the fandom and what it is. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot. This is a very, it's not a hard topic to talk about, but I want to make sure I mark all my bases, kind of, who he is as a character and why it's important, why a lot of us connect with him, right? And a lot of us connect with other characters as well. So, all in all, he's definitely a queer icon. But also, it's not just Kylo Ren. I'd say every Star Wars character is a queer icon. Every Star Wars character is queer. And that's Star Wars. And also, that's just every other fandom. Is like, who cares what this character's sexuality is in the movies, right? And you can really write your own narrative with that. And I'm hoping I'm articulating this well. Like I said, I do not know everything. I definitely do not know everything. Oh my goodness. If I did, yeah, no. I don't know everything. And I definitely probably said I glossed over some things probably way too quickly. But it's an important topic to talk about. And the reason I made this video originally is because no one really talks about it. And no one really makes videos talking about our queer experiences with non-queer characters. And of course, in the future, I will be talking about queer characters, especially Phasma and her asexuality. I do want to dive into that. And just that, why that means so much, right? But in this sense, a lot of people just don't talk about the characters that a lot of us queer people relate with. And it's almost kind of erasure for what we do in the fandom. And I think it's important to bring up this topic. Was I the best person to talk about this? Absolutely not. No. I was so not the right person to talk about this. But I hope I brought, awareness to what a lot of people do in our community and the beauty of what our community has brought to this character and how we express ourselves. And for me, I've learned so much, even just reading some of the stuff with Kylo Ren as queer, right? And queer people writing it from their own personal experience. And I've learned so much about those people and about the queer experience of transitioning, about kind of changing your name and what that means. I have, little experience with that, of course, but I still can relate to it on a sense. And I've written my own kind of thoughts of the, transition of Ben Solo to Kylo Ren and why it's important. And I haven't posted it because it is a very personal fic to me, but I think so many people could relate with it. And I think that's what's really special. So shout out to all of you, all my allies, all my queer people that write just for any character in the Star Wars fandom. And they write them as queer. I love you all. You are doing so much for the community and so much to really break the bounds of writing and storytelling. So I love you all. And thank you all so much for listening. And I'm really happy that I got to talk about this topic. As I say again, was I the best person to talk about this topic? Probably not. I probably definitely skipped over a lot of things, but I implore you, if you ever want to talk about sexuality and gender with me, I am super open to it. Y'all know me on Twitter, so follow me there. And I'm very, very lucky to be a part of this fandom that loves to be creative with sexuality and gender, and I think that's really special. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Like I said, very fun topic, and I hope that you all have a great rest of your week. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. And I love you all. And I will see you guys in the next one.